For 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Smith, I want to discuss Volume 2 of your report, which summarizes the findings of your investigation into President Trump's hoarding of classified documents at Mar-a-Lago and his efforts to obstruct the FBI's investigation. Mr. Smith, is it generally the practice for a special counsel's report to be made public to the American people?
I want to say first, I'm limited what I can say about Volume 2 because of Judge Cannon's order. I can say generally that with respect to special counsels, there are regulations that direct a special counsel to draft a report. Whether that report becomes public is determined, the Attorney General has the authority to determine.
To the best of your knowledge, was Special Counsel Mueller's report made public in full?
I know it was made public. I'm not sure if it was made public in full.
What about Special Counsel Hur's report?
My recollection is his report was made public in full. I believe that's correct.
And Special Counsel Weiss's report?
I do not know.
Okay. Now, I understand that the district judge, Aileen Cannon, the Trump appointee who oversaw the case in Florida, issued a gag order that prevents you from discussing any parts of the classified documents investigation that is not already public. I understand that, including your findings that you laid out in Volume 2 of that report. Am I correct that the reason your report is not available in full to the public is because of this gag order?
I wrote a report. The Attorney General, it was submitted to him. I understand generally that there's been litigation about whether this report would be public or not. I have not been a party to that litigation. I just know that there is an order, and I know the Department of Justice, the current Department of Justice, has interpreted that order in a way that I cannot speak about anything that could possibly be in that report and its findings.
And when Judge Cannon issued that gag order, she cited pending cases against Trump's co-defendants. Is that correct?
I'm sorry?
When Judge Cannon issued the gag order, she cited pending cases against Trump's co-defendants. Is that correct?
That's my recollection.
Are those cases still pending?
No, they're not.
No, they're not. So there is no reason, from where I sit, for this important information to be not made public.
Yields back. The gentleman from Wisconsin is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In 2010, Mr. Smith, did you work for the President Obama's Department of Justice?
Yes, in 2010, I was the chief of the Public Integrity Section.
During that time, did you have any contact or connection with Lois Lerner with the Obama IRS?
Yes, I was new to the Public Integrity Section. I was the chief. I was trying to learn about issues I had not been at.
Did you attempt to work with Lois Lerner and the IRS to investigate nonprofits?
What I did was I asked for a meeting with the IRS about nonprofits.
So the simple answer is yes. Correct.
Well, I didn't ask to work with Ms. Lerner. They sent Ms. Lerner. That's the person who came to this meeting. I met her once.
And they went after Second Amendment groups, correct? If you remember correctly, that's what was the offshoot of it, that Second Amendment groups that tried to gain nonprofit status, they were slow-rolled through the IRS. Do you recall that?
Separate from this, there was an investigation of that that I was a part of in Public Integrity.
Did you, you prosecuted Virginia Governor Bob McDonnell. This was asked earlier. You prosecuted him, correct?
I was part of the prosecution, yes.
And that ended up with a, that decision ended up being unanimously overturned by the Supreme Court, correct?
That is correct, sir.
Yeah, including Justice Ginsburg joined in on that opinion, correct?
I believe that's correct.
Yeah. You also prosecuted John Edwards and Bob Menendez, and those both ended in mistrials, is that right?
The John Edwards case did. The Menendez case, I had left the Public Integrity. section by the time that case was tried. I wasn't.
So, Mr. Chairman, what we heard from the other side here is that this gentleman is the gold standard for prosecution here in the United States. So think about it. We had a witch hunt done by the IRS going after Second Amendment groups, unanimously overturned by the Supreme Court, prosecuted two prominent political figures, and they ended up as mistrials. That's the gold standard here in America. I would just say this, Mr. Chairman, if Mr. Smith ever works for the Department of Justice again, I would recommend a remedial course on the First Amendment to the Constitution. Before I yield the rest of my time, Mr. Smith, I just have one other question. Is there any historical precedent for an alternate slate of electors to be sent to Congress? Has that ever happened before?
That had happened, not anything similar to this situation, but you're correct. It was in Hawaii. I think it was Hawaii in, I want to say the 1960 election.
So it has happened before that there was an alternate slate of electors that was sent to Congress, which does the electoral count, correct?
There was a prior time that an electoral slate was sent where there was litigation and recounts going on.
Actually, there's twice that it happened, Mr. Chairman. It happened in 1876 and 1960 that these alternate electors happened. I'd like to ask unanimous consent to introduce the 1960 Hawaii case.
Objection.
Here. With that, I yield to the chairman.
And how many boxes in total did Mr. Nato remove from the storage room in Mar-a-Lago? And I believe it's referenced in paragraph 59 as well.
Yes, I believe, as it says in paragraph 59, between the 23rd of May and I think it was June 2nd, he removed at Donald Trump's direction a total of 64 boxes and brought them to Trump's residence.
And he took them to Mr. Trump's residence from the storage room, is that right?
Yes.
And just to confirm, Mr. Nato moved these boxes just a day after Mr. Trump met with his attorneys about responding to the grand jury subpoena, is that correct?
Well, yes, he actually, the first day that is listed here is in paragraph 54, when he moved the first box, and then yeah, so then if you look at paragraph 59, subsection A, 3 boxes were moved on the 24th. On the 30th, Trump and Nauta spoke by phone for about 30 seconds, and very shortly after that, over a period of a little less than 2 hours, Nauta moved another 50 boxes from the storage room. That same day, there was a text exchange between Nauta and the president's wife, and in that, I'm summarizing here, but it's on paper. She was saying we're not going to have room for all these boxes on the plane, and Mr. Nauta replied, I think he wanted to pick from them. I don't imagine him wanting to take the boxes. He told me to put them in the room and that he was going to talk to you about them. And then on the first, 11 more boxes were moved out of the storage room.
So let's, that's a lot of movement of boxes, right? And it makes sense that it's under the concealment of evidence section of your indictment. I believe going to paragraph 63, you provide a pretty succinct summary of the number of boxes that were moved versus the number of boxes that were returned to the storage room. So do you mind summarizing that piece for us so we understand exactly how many boxes were left in the summary room?
So paragraph
Or the storage room, sorry.
Sure. Paragraph 63 summarizes that between May 23rd and June 2nd, Nauta, at Trump's direction, moved 64 boxes from the storage room to the residence. And then afterwards, Nauta and De Oliveira returned to the storage room only 30 boxes.
So there were only 30 boxes left in the storage room, although there were 64 boxes that were at Mar-a-Lago, to your knowledge, based upon this indictment.
Well, they returned 30. How many more were still in there that they hadn't taken at all? That would be added to that.
Why was there any significance to moving all these boxes prior to June 2nd of 2022? And I believe this is referenced in the false certification of the FBI section of the indictment. But what's the significance of moving all these boxes just before June 2nd of 2022?
Because Donald Trump was on notice that his attorney was going to search that room, search for classified documents in that room, and in between the time he was put on notice of that and the time that he actually did that, at Donald Trump's direction, 64 boxes were taken out, but only 30 were returned.
So how many boxes did Mr. Trump's attorney actually review when he returned to Mar-a-Lago for the review on June 2nd of 2022? And again, I believe this is in the false certification section of the indictment.
Right. The attorney looked through all the boxes that were in the room and located, reviewed the contents of the boxes in the storage room, and he located 38 documents with classification markings that he took out and he put in a Redwell folder, and that he then taped up.
Did the evidence show in the indictment that Mr. Trump's attorney believed that he had reviewed the entire universe of documents at Mar-a-Lago?
I'm trying to see if that's here in the indictment. I could answer that question. Well, I can't answer anything that's not in this indictment, but
And just to make it clear for the record, why can't you answer anything that's not clear in this indictment?
well, that issue, the question of whether he reviewed, in his view, all the boxes. If the answer to that would be within the final report, and again, I don't have a recollection one way or the other, unless there's another public filing about that. My understanding is I can't discuss issues like that due to the injunction.
Understood. Let's move on to the next section about the attempt to delete security camera footage. And we're working our way up to this August court-authorized search of Mar-a-Lago, if you can't see where we're going here. So on page 27, that's the section that starts the attempt to delete security camera footage. Did the evidence show that Mr. Trump attempted to or tried to direct someone else to delete security camera footage at Mar-a-Lago?
Yes.
Can you please describe from the indictment for us what evidence showed that Mr. Trump directed someone to delete security footage at Mar-a-Lago?
Well, just speaking to what's in the indictment, not anything outside it unless you direct me to public filing. It starts on paragraph 74 and it goes through paragraph 87. Is there any particular part you'd like me to
So I'm going to
address?
start with June 22nd of 2022. It's paragraph 75. I believe the Department of Justice sent a message to an attorney for Mr. Trump's business organization that might have provided knowledge for him. What was emailed to an attorney for Mr. Trump's business organization that kind of started off this process?
There was a draft grand jury subpoena for the production of security camera footage. And the previous paragraph notes that agents had observed surveillance cameras near the storage room where the classified documents were stored. And so a draft subpoena was sent on the 22nd of June.
Yes. And then following the draft grand jury subpoena being sent to the attorney for Mr. Trump's business organization, it looks like Mr. Trump had a phone call with Mr. De Oliveira the day after on June 23rd of 2022. Is that correct?
For 24 minutes.
Yes. And then the actual subpoena was sent by the Department of Justice to an attorney for Mr. Trump's organization on what day? And I believe this is in paragraph 77.
Yeah, Friday, June 24th.
And what was that subpoena? What records was it requesting?
Any and all surveillance records, videos, images, photographs, and/or CCTV from internal cameras at certain locations at the Mar-a-Lago Club, including on ground floor basement, from January 10th to June 24th of 2022.
Notably, the same day that the Department of Justice emailed Mr. Trump's attorney, the actual final grand jury subpoena. It looks like Mr. Trump may have tried to reach out to Mr. Nauta, and it's described in paragraph 78. Do you mind discussing or telling us what this interaction might have looked like between Mr. Trump and Mr. Nauta?
What paragraph 78 describes is an attorney for Trump speaking to Donald Trump about the subpoena for security footage. A little over 2 hours later, Waltine Nauta received a message from a coworker indicating that Trump wanted to see him. And then less than 2 hours after that, Nauta, who was supposed to be traveling with Trump to Illinois that day, changed his plans to travel and began making arrangements to travel to Palm Beach instead of Illinois, where he was scheduled to be with Trump.
So fast forward to paragraph 80, the same day, we're still on June 24th, right? So Mr. Nauta changes his travel plans, and then Mr. Nauta and Mr. De Oliveira, it looks like they reach out to a Trump employee. What position did the Trump employee have that Mr. Nauta and Mr. De Oliveira reached out to? This is in paragraph 80.
Let's see. He was the Director of Information Technology.
And what was, and this is in the subsection of paragraph 80, subsections A through E, what was the nature of the conversation between Mr. Nauta, Mr. De Oliveira, and the Director of Information Technology at Mar-a-Lago Club?
Paragraph 80 reflects a series of contacts and conversations. First, Nauta reaching out to the Director of IT, asking if he's around. Nauta then also reaching out to De Oliveira, and then it appears they had a call after he reached out. And then that same employee, the Director of IT, texted back to Nauta that he was available. Nauta responded to that. At 6:56 that same day, De Oliveira texted the Director of Information Technology saying, "Hey buddy, how are you? Walter called me early, said it was trying to get in touch with you. I guess he's coming down tomorrow. I guess needs you for something." And the employee responded that he reached out but didn't say what he wanted. I told him I'm local, entertaining family that came from New York City, and he told me no worries. And then the last entry is Trump, that same employee, the Director of Information Technology, texted Nauta to say, if you need me, I can get away, just let me know. Nauta responded saying, sounds good, thank you.
So fast forwarding to paragraph 82, because now we move on to the next day, which is June 25th. After having these conversations, it looks like Mr. Nauta and Mr. De Oliveira actually go and look at some of the information technology at Mar-a-Lago Social Club. Can you tell us what Mr. Nauta and Mr. De Oliveira, who did they go visit? I think they went to a security guard booth, is that correct?
Yes, there's a security guard booth where in that, at that booth, it has where the cameras are, so you can see where the surveillance cameras, like that would be where you could see them. And then they walked with a flashlight through the tunnels where the storage room was located and observed and pointed at the surveillance cameras that were there.
And then Monday morning, first thing in the morning, or 9:48 a.m. in the morning on Monday, June 27th, 2022, and I'm trying to keep this tight timeline going. It looks like Mr. De Oliveira continues talking, or at least visiting, other IT officials at Mar-a-Lago. I believe this is in paragraph 83 and 84. Do you mind summarizing what happened just 2 days later on June 27th of 2022? And as you can see, we're building our way up to July and the August court-authorized search of Mar-a-Lago.
So that day, this is paragraph 83 and 84, De Oliveira walked to the IT office where this same Director of IT was working with another employee. There were two people there, and requested that the Director of IT step away so he could talk with him. They left the area and they walked through a basement tunnel to a small room that was known as an audio closet. And once inside that closet, he told them, he being De Oliveira, told the employee first that their conversation should remain between them. He then asked how many days the server footage was retained, and the employee told him approximately 45 days. And then De Oliveira told the employee that the boss wanted the server deleted. The employee responded that he would not know how to do that, and he did not believe he would have the rights to do that. Trump employee, that same employee told De Oliveira that De Oliveira would have to reach out to another employee who was a supervisor of security for Trump's business organization. But De Oliveira persisted and insisted that insisted to Trump employee for that the boss wanted the server deleted and asked, what are we going to do?
Investigations, the Florida case, the DC case, what do you talk about?
I don't recall him ever talking about Arctic frost or plasma. I don't remember.
Those are some names. Did you talk about the two cases?
Yes, at some point it was not clear to me whether, when he first, my recollection again, and it's not perfect, is it wasn't clear to me if it would be working on one case or the other or both. I'm not clear of how that first came up.
Okay. And these conversations were before President Trump announced that he was running for president?
Yes.
Okay. And were they before the midterm elections in 22?
When were the midterm elections?
November. First Tuesday after the first Monday in November.
I think I spoke to him both before that and after that.
Okay. And then how did it go down at the end? Did you tell Mr. Miller, you know what, President Trump's announced, they may be considered, how did it go? Did you just tell Mr. Miller, I'd be interested if there's an official special counsel, or how did it go after President Trump announces? How'd that conversation go?
My recollection of this is that I was asked if I would accept the position if it were offered to me, and that was before President Trump announced his candidacy.
When you were sworn in as special counsel when you were in Amsterdam, is that correct?
Yes.
Who swore you in?
I don't recall.
And was it over Zoom or something?
Don't recall.
Or was someone present? Was, Mr. Cooney, or Mr. Cooney and Bratt and several folks came to visit you in Amsterdam, is that right?
Not in Amsterdam. I was in The Hague, in the
Okay.
Netherlands. They probably flew into Amsterdam.
Okay.
Yeah. And yes, they came to see me shortly after I was appointed.
But you don't remember who administered the oath? Who can administer the oath? Like, who's authorized the DOJ to administer the oath?
I don't know.
But you did take an oath. You remember that?
I do recall that, yeah.
But you don't remember whether it was was it in the Netherlands?
I was still in the Netherlands is my recollection.
Okay. So it had to be either a DOJ official came to see you, or it had to be over Zoom, right? Those were the options?
Or over the phone. I really don't have a recollection that I can help you here.
Okay. And do you know the total cost of your probe?
I do not.
Rough? Can you give a rough estimate? Or?
Well, the special counsel, our office, consistent with past special counsels, gives a public report of expenditures, and the last, I'm not sure if the last one that we covered, the last however many period of time was ever actually published, and so you'd have to add that into the total.
Okay.
So that's why I say I don't know.
At the time, the last published report, I think it was at 20 million.
Okay, I don't recall that. Whatever is in the public reporting on this would be accurate.
Okay. The genesis of the alternate electors case started with the National Archives IG. Is that your understanding? They first raised flags that they were receiving alternate electors to the Justice Department?
That, I believe, would have been well before I was special counsel.
Okay. And when you became special counsel, was that part of your, like, where did the alternate electors case stand, when you became the special counsel in November of 2022?
So the fake elector scheme was part of what I was investigating, and it ultimately became part of the charges in the case.
Okay. But where did it stand as of November 2022?
Where did it stand? I think the people assigned to that investigation were investigating it exactly.
One thing you should know you don't mess with my mama. My mama know you don't mess with my mama. It's okay if you're looking for some drama. You don't mess with my mama, no. My mama. You don't mess with my mama, no. My mama. You don't mess with mine. Had a good life.
How many interviews they conducted, things of that nature, I can't recall as I sit here right now.
Before you became the special counsel, there was an effort to get DOJ moving on this, and an individual named Amanda Vaughn, a prosecutor on J.P. Cooney's team, indicated that the DOJ would not be pursuing the case. Were you aware of that?
Was this when I was special counsel?
This is before you became special counsel.
I don't recall that.
And so the question ultimately is it seems like the alternate electors matter, it seems like it was subject to a lot of starts and stops. And wanted to know whether, after you became the special counsel in November of 2022, were there any starts and stops, or was that full speed ahead on that probe?
That was a part of the case that we investigated from the time I started until the indictment. It ended up being one of the most powerful parts of the case. We had electors who were going to be witnesses. I referenced earlier a congressman from Pennsylvania who had said this was an attempt to overthrow the government. We had other electors who said, I was told that this would only be used if we won in litigation. And obviously the record in our case showed that the co-conspirators were trying to use their elector votes despite that fact. And again, this goes to the point I made earlier. These are people who wanted to be electors for Donald Trump. They are not people who are opposed to him. They were not people who are from a different political party or enemies. And so the fact that we had elector witnesses like that who felt either they'd been misled or they felt that this whole effort was an attempt to overthrow the government, I thought that was pretty powerful evidence. And so we moved that part of the investigation forward with the rest of the case.
Did your office coordinate with state officials?
You mean interview state officials?
No, coordinate, several other, state probes cropped up, in Arizona, in Fulton County, Georgia. And I'm wondering how you coordinated those efforts.
I know that we got inquiries from state authorities. I'm aware of that. My recollection is that we did not share any evidence with them. And I don't think, my recollection is we did not get any evidence from them. We got it from, that is my recollection, that it was all or largely from public sources.
Okay. Was there somebody on your team who had responsibility for liaisoning with the Attorney General for the state of Arizona, Chris Mays?
I don't believe so, but also the liaisoning, I don't think that, my recollection is that there was not like an ongoing discussion. What I was thinking of, I know we got a letter, for example, from the Attorney General in New Mexico asking for information from us. I don't have a specific recollection as well as to other states. It may well be that we got other inquiries.
So there was no proactive coordination?
No.
Okay, there was no proactive coordination, regular communications with Chris Mays' office in Arizona?
I don't recall any regular communications, but I'm hesitating just because I don't recall, as I sit here, how many times they might have reached out to us or that sort of thing.
Right. How about with the Fulton County DA's office with Fonnie Willis and Mr. Wade?
Yeah, I've never had contact with either of those people.
Okay, do you know if anyone on the special counsel team, on your team, had contact with them after you were appointed in November of 2022?
I don't believe so. I will just say, though, that one of the things we were investigating was things that happened in Fulton County, particularly there. Was an election worker by the name of Ruby Freeman, her mother, and she was the mother of a woman named Shay Moss. They were people that Rudy Giuliani and Donald Trump targeted with absolutely false claims of election fraud, claims that Rudy Giuliani later admitted he didn't have evidence for, claims that he was held liable in defamation for, caused them to endure all these sort of vile threats. And that whole episode, as well as sort of the claims, the false claims about the vote count in Fulton County, we did look into that and collect. Evidence. I don't have a recollection, as I sit here, that we interacted with the Fulton County DA's office for that, but if we did, it would be only for that.
Okay, did you try to deconflict their prosecution from what you were working on?
Well, we didn't, I was not interested in sharing information with them, so I did not give them information. I'm not even sure, testing my recollection now, but I don't even think we got a request for information from them.
Did you have coordination as far as scheduling was concerned?
I don't recall anything like that.
Okay. Because their proceedings were going on concurrently with your DC case, with the Florida case. So you don't remember you or anyone on your team having communications with Fulton County to coordinate scheduling?
No, I was aware, obviously, that their case was pending, but I did not coordinate any scheduling with them.
Okay. How about with the Attorney General for the state of Michigan?
Again, it may be that they requested information from us. As I sit here right now, I should say I don't have a really good recollection of this subject matter you're talking about, but I don't recall us giving them information, and I don't recall getting information from them.
Who on your team would have that that information?
Well, Thomas Wyndham and Molly Gaston led that case, and along with J.P. Cooney, that would probably be people who might recall these things with more specificity than I am.
Okay. So if somebody has the information, one of those three people, should be able to help us?
There may be other people in the office as well. I'm saying them because they were the direct supervisors of the prosecutors on that case, and they may have a better recollection.
Same question with the District Attorney of New York's office. Did your office have any communications with that office, coordination?
No recollection of that.
Did you have any communications regarding scheduling?
Again, I have no recollection of that. I was aware of their case pending, but I don't recall any coordination with them.
Did your office or anyone at DOJ, to your knowledge, try to dissuade the District Attorney of New York from bringing that case?
I do not recall that at all. And that I'll just say I have a better memory. I do not remember anything like that.
Were you enthusiastic that the District Attorney of New York was bringing that case?
No, I didn't take any position about it.
Okay, because, it was going on at the same time that you were trying to move forward your two cases, correct?
Correct.
And you didn't have a view that the case out of the District Attorney of New York's office was going to be a distraction? Litigating whether there's payments to some performer and how that relates to, the Trump Organization's accounting protocols. I mean, that is very different from the two cases you were pursuing.
Yeah, the two cases are completely different.
And so the question was, do you think that the District Attorney of New York's case presented a distraction for what you were trying to accomplish?
A distraction. I don't know that I thought about it that way. I can't recall any discussions along those lines.
I mean, there were a number of times when you wanted to be in court in D.C. and you had to work around the president's schedule because he was in court in Manhattan, correct?
I'm not sure that's right. Maybe that's right. I don't know if there's a record about that. I don't. Was there? If I shouldn't be asking you questions,
Yeah.
but is there? I don't recall.
Yeah, there is.
Okay, so I'm not disputing you then.
I mean, one of the issues is, the president was represented by, he had his team of lawyers. It was pretty small group. They weren't backed by big law, right? So they didn't enjoy a robust, hundreds of, lawyers back at the office to be able to digest some of these things. And so, President Trump's lawyers, were required to be in New York. Part of the week, and then they had to come to DC, and then they had to go to Florida. And so the question is, did you ever coordinate with the District Attorney of New York to, maybe not be at trial one day so you could have the...
In the last hour with the minority, Mr. Smith, we asked you about folks that were interviewed during the course of your January 6th investigation. I think we talked about Mr. Giuliani, we mentioned Mr. Meadows, we mentioned Vice President Pence. An individual that I failed to ask about was whether you interviewed Director Kash Patel as part of your investigation with the Special Counsel's office.
I can't get into that because of the Judge Cannon's injunction.
Okay. Did Director Patel testify before the grand jury as part of your investigation?
Same answer.
Can you mind saying that just for the record, to make the record clear?
I cannot answer that question due to Judge Cannon's injunction.
And did Director Patel assert his right against self-incrimination as part of your investigation?
Can't answer that question.
In general, just using your years of experience as a prosecutor, are you aware of any prohibitions that would prevent Mr. Patel or Director Patel from disclosing his own testimony if he did testify with the Special Counsel's office?
Just as a general matter, not specific to anything with this case, my understanding is the witnesses can disclose their own testimony.
Thank you. Mr. Raskin?
Mr. Smith, do you believe that the Supreme Court's decision on executive immunity constitutes an exoneration of President Trump's conduct in the months and weeks leading up to January 6th and then January 6th?
No.
Would you just explain that for us, why you don't see that as an exoneration for what he did?
Sure. I understand the Supreme Court decision. If I just go back for a second, this was an issue we litigated in the district court. The district court agreed with us. We litigated it in the Court of Appeals. The Court of Appeals agreed with us. We litigated it in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court majority did not agree with us. They took a view of executive power that was more expansive than what we argued. I disagreed with it for the reasons we set forth in our brief and the reasons stated by the dissent in the case, Justice Sotomayor, but it is the law of the land. And what my office sought to do in responding to that was to follow the law and see, do we still have a case? And I think the evidence that we had after that decision remained powerful. I talked earlier today about state officials who put allegiance to the country before party. Those officials from Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, all those. I'm sorry.
Georgia.
All those witnesses, right? All those witnesses would still be available to us. The heart of our case would still be available to us, and I think it's important to know that. Well, you know, our view was that he abused his authority in the Justice Department to effect as one way to effectuate this scheme. This was about him as a candidate trying to say he won an election he didn't win, and so having to frame this in that manner, obviously it limited some of the evidence. That's why we had to supersede the indictment. But I don't think it was an exoneration because I still believed that there was substantial evidence that would allow us to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt.
Someone can be guilty of a crime in a factual sense, but still be immunized from prosecution, right?
Well, I mean, that's getting sort of like theoretical or metaphysical. I mean, if the court says that that's not a crime, then it's not a crime. But in our case, our view was that that ruling excised a certain portion of our proof, but all the charges we brought, we felt were still valid. We felt we still had a lot of evidence to support those charges.
Right. Did you have any questions? But I wonder if you would answer a question based on your experience as a war crimes prosecutor. And I don't know whether over the course of your long and distinguished career you've come to articulate a difference between ordinary crimes, run-of-the-mill crimes, and crimes that have some kind of world historical significance. Perhaps so, perhaps not. But I wonder if you do put war crimes, for example, in a different category from, say, for example, robberies that you prosecuted, how you would think about classifying the crimes that you had investigated and were prepared to prosecute related to January 6th and the attempt to overthrow a presidential election.
So I think as a prosecutor, how you go about investigating those cases and make a decision to prosecute those cases, in my view, the principles in the robbery case or in my early career domestic violence case, those are the exact same principles you'd use in the most terrible war crimes case or in the work I had as special counsel. You follow the facts in the law. Nobody's above the law. You treat everybody the same. Applying those principles in more complex cases requires experience, and it's one of the reasons I felt I was qualified to do this job. But the principles, I think, remain the same. In my view, my personal view, is that the difference is the harm. Domestic violence case is awful. should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law, but generally there's one victim. War crimes cases that I've worked on can affect an entire country and entire culture. I think, and this isn't just me, the Court of Appeals in this case, when we litigated it, said that if the things we alleged were proven, it would amount to attack on the structure of our democracy. Those aren't my words, those are the court's words. And so whether a case is of that import or of less, I think you go about it the same way, but obviously the consequences for our country are quite different.
Have you made any statements, or are you willing to make any statements on the firing and removal of Department of Justice prosecutors who worked on January 6th, on people at the FBI who were involved in the FBI investigation, or on the president's mass summary pardon of 1,600 January 6th insurrectionists and other people involved?
I think what has happened to career prosecutors and career FBI agents is awful. It's contrary to the rule of law. It's contrary to who I think we are as a country. One of the agents on our case, he served his country overseas multiple times, war zones. Family of dedicated public servants, wife's family, dedicated public servants. He got fired for doing his job 2 weeks after his wife died. I went to the funeral. I saw his family. I saw a church full of public servants. No reason a person like that should have to go through that. And I'm getting emotional. I'm sorry about that. But I just think that's wrong.
Well, thank you for your service to America and to the Department of Justice and the people.
Following up on that a little bit, if individuals are fired or lose their jobs simply for taking part of an investigation into someone who is an authority figure or in a high position of government, how does that impact our democracy?
Well, if you take the position that you cannot work in the federal government unless you have a political allegiance to the president, I think there are many harms to that. Our country tried that in the past. It's called the patronage system. And what we learned in our history is, and this would be if it's a Democrat or Republican, would not matter. But what we learned is that those systems are rife with not only corruption, but with incompetence. Because the people who have these jobs, they didn't get them because of merit, because they dedicated their career to learning national security law, to learning how to properly investigate a case. They got their jobs because they're loyal to a particular person. That's not fair, but it also makes for people who really don't know how to do the work. And so I think that's a danger to the country. It saddens and angers me in the short term, but I think there are great costs to us long term if that's the direction we go in.
I'm going to pull on that last bit of your answer, if you don't mind, the damage it could cause long term. Do you mind elaborating that a little bit, especially as it relates to, recruiting the talent to the government, to public service who actually has the knowledge and the specialty and the competence to do the job? What types of dangers do you see if this continues?
Well, I've just seen career prosecutors who have served, again, Republican and Democratic administrations over and over again. These are the knowledge sources in the department in different areas. These are the people who mentor young lawyers. And when you take them away, those young lawyers don't have anybody to learn from. My experience in the department, again, doesn't matter the administration. These are not partisans. They're people who have decided they don't want to make a lot of money. They're not looking for fame. They just want to do good work. And I think when you lose that culture, you lose a lot.
Speaking of, sections within the government or within DOJ specifically that have particular skill sets and knowledge, I want to talk a little bit about the public integrity section, or PIN. That's come up earlier in the majority's hours, but what's the mission of PIN?
The public integrity section was formed after Watergate, and the section litigates complex corruption cases around the country. It does some of those cases on its own. It does, or at least during my time there, it also does cases in conjunction with, in partnership with local U.S. Attorney's Office, bringing expertise about some of the issues we've talked about today to them. And it also is a sort of clearinghouse for expertise on these issues, like the speech or debate clause or things of that nature.
Does the public integrity section play a role in checking potential abuses by DOJ as it relates to investigating members of Congress?
Well, in particular, I think it's valuable for prosecutors to make sure they get things right. They're the sort of keeper of these issues, and they're the people you go to make sure you're doing things the right way.
I guess, are you aware of some of the firings or dismantling that's been going on with the public integrity section since the beginning of 2025?
Yes.
Do you?
I'm curious, shifting gears just a little bit. When you first sat down, the majority was asking you questions that seemingly were tied into the general duties of a prosecutor, and your resume has been laid out. It is interesting, or at least it was interesting to me, to hear the majority characterize who should be prosecuted under the current circumstances. I'm not sure if you've followed along, but are you aware that under this DOJ, they have indicted Tish James as well as they ultimately indicted James Comey? Are you aware of that?
I am.
And are you also aware of the fact that this DOJ has consistently dismissed members of the DOJ for refusing to bring forth indictments that they don't believe have merit?
Yes.
The majority was asking you about why it is that you characterize your belief that there was guilt as it relates to the indictment that you sought. As a trained prosecutor, typically, are you supposed to go after people that you don't believe are actually guilty?
I'm trying to, there's a couple of negatives in that question.
I know.
Yeah.
They were trying
You're
to.
not supposed to go after people who you believe are not guilty.
Okay, thank you. In your experience of 3 decades, have you ever needed to seek the same indictment 3 times while being rejected?
Never.
Okay, I think that's all I have for that.
Have you ever prosecuted someone that you did not believe was guilty beyond a reasonable doubt?
Never.
As we hit, I know we're getting close to the end of our time. I want to hit on a few questions. And I apologize if they come off as very obvious to you with your experience and the way that you conducted yourself with the Department of Justice. Did Attorney General Garland or other DOJ officials direct investigative steps within your office of the special counsel?
No.
Did Attorney General Garland or other DOJ officials direct litigation decisions within your office?
No.
Did you experience Attorney General Garland or other DOJ officials interfering with your ability to conduct this investigation?
No.
Did President Biden ever give you any instructions about what you should or should not do related to these investigations?
No.
Did you ever speak to President Biden about these investigations?
No.
I think Mr. Moskowitz has a question.
Thank you, Ranking Member. Do you know what the definition of retribution is? Webster's definition to noun.
Off the top of my head, I do not.
If I proffered that it was exacting a punishment against someone, would that sound better?
Yes, and yes.
Your lawyers lost their security clearance, is that correct?
Yes,
People who worked under you were fired, is that correct?
that's correct.
You're here today on a deposition that Sherman has brought you into, and wouldn't give you a public hearing, is that correct?
Yes.
Did you see the comments by the President's Chief of Staff talking about retribution?
I did.
So, everyone was fired. You're here on a deposition. Your lawyers lost their security clearance. Seems like it meets not only the definition in Webster, it seems like this is exactly what Trump's chief of staff was talking about. No?
I have no doubt that the president wants to seek retribution against me. I have no doubt that that's the intent.
I don't want to put you off. In
Yeah.
fact, the exact quote was, he doesn't wake up thinking about it, but when there's an opportunity, he goes for it. I mean, this seems like a opportunity. Do you think the White House gave instructions to Chairman Jordan to set this deposition?
So I am eyes wide open that this president will seek retribution against me if he can. I know that. I don't, frankly, connect that with this hearing. I don't have any connection. I came here, I was asked to
No,
come
you
here.
think there were zero conversations between the White House and Chairman Jordan?
I don't know, but I'm here in good faith, and I was asked to come testify. I
What's the
offered-
likelihood that there were less than zero conversations between the White House and Chairman Jordan?
I'm not going to speculate on that. I will say I agree that this department wants to seek retribution against anybody who worked on cases against President Trump. I just don't have any evidence
Why do you think the
that
Chairman wouldn't give you a public hearing?
that's not for me to say.
I want to go back to your testifying that in every case you've ever brought, you've believed that there is proof beyond a reasonable doubt to demonstrate that the defendant is guilty. I'm not sure it would be even ethical to bring a case if you didn't have that belief. But is there anything inconsistent about having that belief that you can sustain the prosecutor's burden of showing beyond a reasonable doubt all of the elements of the crime are satisfied, and also wanting to see that constitutional due process is observed in the trial? Is there any conflict between those two?
I don't see one.
In other words,
The primary reason that there are so many stars in the city is that we are seeing stars not only those nearby, not only those in the middle, but all the way out past the galactic bulge. In a dustier region of the Milky Way, where the optical view might be limited to just a few thousand light years. The primary reason that there are so many stars in the city.
as a prosecutor, you go in with the belief that you can make your case. But you also want to make that case within the rule of law and within due process. And you've never experienced that as a problem, right? You've never wanted to trample the rules of due process in order to convict someone.
That's correct.
Okay. Mark, back to you.
I just wanted to piggyback on something that Ms. Crockett brought up earlier, but are you familiar with Justice Manual 927-220?
You're going to have to give me more than the number, I think.
All right. So that provision basically states the condition with which a prosecutor can commence or recommend federal prosecution. And I can quote from that section for you. It says, prosecutor may commence or recommend federal prosecution only if he or she believes that the person will more likely than not be found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt by an unbiased trier of fact, and that the conviction will be upheld on appeal. So does that sound familiar to you?
Yes.
Okay. Did you follow this provision when you indicted President Trump in the election interference case?
Yes.
And did you follow that provision when you indicted President Trump and his co-conspirators? No, just President Trump in the classified documents case?
Yes.
And his co-conspirators? Did you?
In
follow
that case, yes.
Okay. And the majority in their hour questioned you about why you included conduct that has not been found, that has not been brought forth before a trier of fact, right? That has not been proven in a court of law. But aren't you just essentially restating the standard that was that's stated in Justice Manual 927-220?
Yes. With our report, I wanted to explain my prosecutorial decisions, why we made them, the basis for them, and that's why we wrote the report the way we did.
Thank you.
In my last few minutes of our hour, please bear with me as I go through these next questions. There's a lot of inferences and accusations being made about your bias as a special counsel's office, and I want to make sure that we rebut these in the first hour. I think it's important to. So, did the Attorney General or any other DOJ official ever press you to be more aggressive in your investigation of President?
Headlines fly high, no matter the noise, you stay in the zone, built your own empire, made it your throne. Some love it, some don't, that's just the deal, but you keep it moving, that's the real feel. You don't fold, you don't break, you just rise. Legend in motion, no need for disguise. Mr. Trump, still ready.
Donald J. Trump?
Hey, hey, 80 candles, but you're still in the game. Walking in the spotlight, everybody knows your name. Gold on the stage, you never play it small. Every time you show up, you light up the hall. Trump go up, Trump don't drop, Trump non-stop. Some people cheer, some people just talk, but you always come back, you don't ever stop. Again in the game like it's built in your plan. On the top, yeah, that's who you are, man. Hey, Mr. Trump, still ready to jump, turning up the volume like $1 million pump. Life's a big stage and you never slump. You're still going strong like boom, champ, Trump, Trump, Trump. Feel that beat, stomp, 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 stomp. Feel that beat, stomp, 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 Trump. From towers to rallies, you built your way. Always got something bold to say. You twist the game like it's your own dance floor, and somehow the crowd just keeps asking for more. Trump, Trump, make the beat go jump. Trump, Trump, feel that rhythm thump. Money, power, lights go pump. Crowd goes wild when it's Trump, Trump, Trump. Yeah, they talk online, but you're still that guy. Every time you show up, headlines fly high. No matter the noise, you stay in the zone, built your own empire, made it your throne. Some love it, some don't, that's just the deal, but you keep it moving, that's the real feel. You don't fold, you don't break, you just rise. Legend in motion, no need for disguise. Mr. Trump, still ready.
No.
Did the Attorney General or any other DOJ official ever suggest?
Hey, hey, 80 candles, but you're still in the game.
That you were expected to bring charges against President Trump?
No.
Did anyone from the White House, including President Biden, ever tell you they expected you to bring charges against Donald Trump?
No.
When you eventually did bring charges against Donald Trump, how did you make that decision? Walk us through it at a high level, if you don't mind.
Sure. It was based on the facts and based on the law. I ultimately made
The primary reason that there are so many stars in the city is that
decision, but I consulted with my
it goes in the middle all the way out past the galactic bulb.
team of prosecutors on that case who were
Hey, hey, 80 candles, but you're still in the
standing public servants, people with great experience in complex investigations. I took their advice and counsel in making that decision, and I tried to consider all factors, including both the strength of the case that we believed we had, possible defenses, all things of that nature.
So which based on what you just said, it sounds like you made this prosecution decision based on the evidence in the law. Is that correct?
That's correct.
What would you have done if you felt any improper pressure from a DOJ official or the White House?
I think people who know me, known my reputation would know that that would not end well. If someone tried to pressure me to move a case in one direction or the other or wasn't supported by the law, I wouldn't stand for it. And I would also say the people who worked in my office wouldn't stand for that either.
Yep, we're at our hour, so we'll end there. Thank you.
You know, a counterpoint to that, if Woodward has a bunch of cases before your office and he's, you know, representing a bunch of people, I mean, he may have felt threatened, but he also may have felt that it was in his strategic advantage to just try to forget about it because he doesn't want to make an enemy of Jay Bratt. I mean, isn't that a fair counterpoint?
I don't think so, based on the number of interactions we've had with him and also the fact that he didn't even bring it up. Someone else brought it up, and when he was, again, I was told when he was confronted with it, he was surprised someone brought it up, made a reference of, I know how to make a complaint if I need to, that was my recollection. And then when he did make the complaint, he didn't just say, I think this should be referred to OPR, he said, and it may be in this letter, that yes, I think that this, let me make sure I get the language correct. Yes. We respectfully suggest that this matter be referred to the department's Office of Professional Responsibility for a thorough investigation, and that any indictment arising from this investigation not lie until such an assessment is reached, knowing, as we do, that an OPR investigation can take many, many months. So that's my take on what happened. And I think our office responded appropriately to this. I don't credit it, but at the same time, we referred it to OPR so they could look into it.
So if it did happen the way Mr. Woodward or Mr. Brand say it did, you would have an issue with that then? Is that fair?
I have no evidence that any of my prosecutors threatened defense attorneys. If
Seem to face up to the facts. I'm tense and nervous and I can't relax. I can't sleep 'cause my bed's on